Okay, so now let's go back to the base layer and we're going to apply some animation effects and triggers. So I'm just going to click on the title right here and we're going to go to animation and we're going to make the entrance animation fade in. So that's over here, entrance animations, and we just select fade. Now there are options here. We could change the duration, or you can have it fade from the bottom or from the left, or one of these here, but I'm just going to leave it in the default settings. And then the text right here, let's also do a fade entrance animation and also an exit animation, because we're going to have this disappear once we hit start. So I'll go here to fade and we're just going to keep it the default, and also exit, fade. And once these are applied, you can see these little stars. That means there's an animation effect on it, but you can only see it if you have the animation tab selected. So if I go over here to home, it disappears. So you have to be here. And then for the start button, we're going to put an entrance fade animation on that as well. There we go. So now let's apply some triggers. Now we will cover this in another video, but I'm going to show you here as well because we need it to make this work. So here's the trigger panel. We're going to go over to create a new trigger, this button here. So basically what a trigger does, it allows something to happen on the slide when you want it to happen. So it triggers an action to happen when you click the button. So we're going to change this up here, the action, to show layer. Okay, because we created this animation layer. We want that to show. So it already knows what we're talking about because there's only one layer right now. Show layer animation when the user clicks start. Okay, so when the user clicks, so we use this, start. So that's all we need, and we just click OK. And there you have a trigger. And then once we click start, we want this text box here to disappear. So we're going to add a trigger to have that happen. So we're going to now change the state. So the state again is if something is appearing or not appearing, or is in a different state, like with a button, a down state or a visited state or something like that. So we're going to change the state of this text box that it already has up here, so because we clicked on it. Click start to begin, right? To hidden, so we're going to make it go away, disappear, when the user clicks the start button right here. And it will highlight it so you know which one it is too. So that will disappear. And the third trigger on this base layer is to change the state of the start button to hidden when the user clicks start. So once the button's clicked, it's going to go away. So we'll go here, change the state of the start button right here to hidden when the user clicks start. So it's kind of funny there because we click it and then it disappears, but I wanted to do that just so that we can have the replay button appear after. Okay, so those are all created. So let's go test this slide. So the way to do that is you go up to preview this slide. So everything faded in. I'm going to click start and the other layer appeared, and yeah, we haven't configured that one yet. But I did notice something else. This text here, so we're gonna have to do some tweaking a little bit. We're actually going to make this a little longer. I'll just make it quite long because we're gonna add some music and stuff here as well. So I'll just make it a little bit longer so it doesn't disappear too quickly. So I'll just check that again. There we go. Okay. So later we're going to come back to this slide to add audio. We're going to add narration and background music. Okay, now we're going to apply animation effects and triggers to the animation layer. So let's go to the animation layer here. So for all the text boxes here, let's apply the entrance and exit animations. So let's start with the caterpillar. So if you want to select it, I usually just go to the timeline. It's easier because they're all stacked on top of each other. And we're going to go up to the animation tab here. And you can just choose whatever you want to do, so you don't have to do the same thing that I'm doing. But I'm going to do what I did before in the example. So for this one, I'm going to choose wipe from the bottom. And then under effect options from the bottom, right there, and exit animation, also wipe from bottom. So that's defaulted right there. For the cocoon, so let's go select that. I'm going to choose shape circle and shape circle for both the entrance and exit animations. So shape, and I think it's defaulted to circle, so we're good there. And shape and circle there again. For the next one, emerging, I'm going to choose fade, but make it 1 second long. So this time I'm going to change this up here, and exit animation, fade, 1 second. And butterfly, we're going to make that swivel 1 second long. So butterfly, we go up here, we choose entrance animation, swivel right here, make that 1 second, and swivel 1 second. Then for the replay button over here, we're going to make an entrance animation on that, just make it fade. For the images here, so let's go to the images now. We'll start with the caterpillar. We're going to make an entrance animation of grow and exit shrink. And we're just going to leave it as the default settings. Okay, and then the cocoon image, we're going to do fade and fade. So just the default settings. And then emerging image, we're going to do wheel and wheel. And butterfly, we're going to zoom. And just leave it the default settings. Okay, so those are done. So all the animation effects are applied. Now we're going to create the triggers to make these animation effects show up. So let's go over to the triggers panel here. And we're just gonna start a new one. So the first one we're gonna do is changing the state of the caterpillar image to normal when the timeline starts on this layer. So when this layer starts, because on the previous layer we hit the start button, it then triggers this layer here, the animation layer. And now we just want the animation to start. So once we get to this layer, we just want the caterpillar image to appear. So change the state of, and now that we've labeled it, it's a lot easier to tell. So these are the images here. These are the text boxes. Caterpillar to normal when the timeline. So we go down here to timeline starts. And then we want to say here on this layer. And then click OK. Now let's do each one of these in sequence. So we're going to do all the triggers that have to do with the caterpillar, then all the triggers that have to do with the cocoon, and then the emerging image, and then the butterfly. So new trigger, we're going to change the state of the text for the caterpillar to normal when the caterpillar image enters the slide. So we want to choose text caterpillar to normal when the caterpillar image. So then we choose object enters slide. And which one? Caterpillar. And then click OK. Then we want to change the state of the text caterpillar to hidden. So new trigger. To hidden when the animation exits on the caterpillar. So basically when the caterpillar image disappears. So we want to go to animation completes, and then which one we're talking about. It's the caterpillar one, and it's not the entrance one, it's the exit. Okay, so when the animation completes on the caterpillar image, so when it exits, then the text will go to hidden, and then we'll be creating a new trigger for the next image to appear. New trigger. Now we want to change the state of cocoon image. Remember, it was hidden before, we're changing it to normal when the animation exits on the caterpillar again. So when that all happens, so animation completes on caterpillar, and it's the exit one. Okay, so we're done the caterpillar triggers now. We're going to move to the cocoon. So change the state of the text for the cocoon image to normal when the cocoon image enters the slide. We go down to object, enter slide, and it's cocoon. Okay. The next one is change the state of the text cocoon to hidden when the animation exits. So we're going to be doing the same thing for all of these. So now we want the text, cocoon text, to go to hidden when the animation completes on the cocoon, and it's the exit one. Okay. And we're going to test this after. So we're now going to change the state of the emerging image to normal, because now we want this to appear when the animation completes on cocoon, and it's the exit one. Okay, now we're done all the triggers for the cocoon. Now for the emerging image, we're going to do pretty much the same thing. So we're going to change the state of the text first for emerging to normal when the emerging image, so the object enters slide, and it's the emerging image. Then we're going to create a trigger to change the state of the text emerging to hidden when the object leaves the slide, basically. So text emerging to hidden when the animation completes, and it's on the emerging, and it's the exit animation. And then the last one, we're going to change the state of the butterfly image to normal when the animation completes on emerging, and it's the exit animation. All right, so we're all done the emerging triggers. Now the butterfly triggers. So we're going to change the state of the text to normal when the butterfly enters the slide. And at this point, like, that's really all we need for the butterfly, because we're going to have the replay button come up. So now what we need to do is we need to duplicate this layer before we go any further, because the next set of triggers is for the replay button, and it's going to trigger the next layer. So if we go back, I'll just review here to our little plan of how we're going to do this. So what we've just done here is we put in the entrance and exit animation effects and use states to hide objects, and we put in all the logic for that. When the caterpillar appears, the text appears, and when it disappears, the next image appears, and so on. And then the replay button has to trigger the replay layer, but we haven't created it yet. So we need to duplicate this because we want all this to stay the same. And then we'll have the replay layer, and then we'll just have a button there that will trigger the whole animation again. But before we do this, we should probably test our slide to make sure it's working. So let's go test this. So I'm going to hit start. There's our first animation, our second one, our third one, and our last one. There we go. So So it looks like it works. Okay, so I'm now going to duplicate this layer and then rename it to replay. Okay, let's go back to the animation layer and we're going to create 3 more triggers for the replay button and to trigger the next layer. So we're going to change the state of the replay button to normal. So now we want it to show up to normal when the timeline ends on this layer. So go down to your timeline triggers here, and I'm going to explain more about all this in another video, but we're just going to focus on what we need to for this. So when this timeline here, this layer ends on this layer, and then we want the replay layer to show. So we had the button show, now we want the replay layer to show. So create a new trigger. Now we're going to change this action here to show layer replay when the user clicks the replay button here. And if you wanted, you could rename that replay layer so it's not so confusing. Okay, and then the last trigger here is to change the state of the replay button to hidden when the user clicks it, so it disappears. You don't have to do that, but just so they can't click it again, because we're only going to do this twice. So change the state again now of the replay button to hidden when the user clicks the replay button. So let's now test this slide. Go up to preview this slide. So I'm going to click start. There's our first image, second, third, and fourth. That disappears. Now the replay button shows up. And then we do it again. And there we go. Okay, so we got the main effects and animation and triggers there.